All right, you sexy aliens, we have one of the most powerful freaking weeks happening this week. Okay, this is the week, if any other week, that you need to for sure freaking watch and be aware of, because it is freaking crucial. This is like one of those like universal spankings on the ass that's like wakes you the fuck up, you know, like a wake the fuck up moment from the universe, kind of spanking you on the ass a little bit. Like, this is one of those weeks, okay? I think so many of us are going to wake up and start making drastic changes by the end of this week and going into next week. It is so insane. This story, I'm like obsessed with this story. Like, I've been sitting with this astrology for literally like the last week or so now, like just contemplating it, and I'm still contemplating it, okay? But I'm going to share with you what I have so far. There's just so much to it, and there's so many different ways that it can play out, but like overall, we are getting ready for a really powerful astrological showdown this week, a really powerful face-off. It is almost like the unplug from the matrix kind of moment, and it's seriously that powerful, okay? Like, this is a really freaking powerful week. So I don't want to waste any time. I want to go ahead and get my chart up on the screen so we can really start going over the insanity and just the story of this week, because the astrology is telling a story if I've ever seen one, okay? Let's go ahead and get into it. By the way, if you are new to one of my weekly videos, we are more chill in this video, although this one may not be chill because this week is just really freaking powerful and I'm like hyped up and passionate and like ready to freaking talk about it. But like, that's what these videos basically are. So anyways, but this week, the reason that this week is such a big ass freaking deal is because Mars is moving into Libra, okay? Mac Daddy Mars is moving into the sign of Libra, and as soon as he does, as you can see, we start getting a lot of crazy aspects here that start forming between a lot of different planets, and even planets that are not involved in this particular aspect are still involved in a lot of different ways, and it's like they're all kind of involved. It's connecting so many dots here. And so Mars in Libra, I want to say first and foremost, it is detriment in Libra. Why? Because it rules Aries, and Libra is the opposite sign to Aries. Now, to understand the sign of Libra, okay? First off, to understand this, we have to understand the synodic cycle, the sun's cycle around the zodiac. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and this is when the sun is coming into light. It is gaining in light. Leo is where the sun rules, and this is where it is basically at home. It is at its peak, like it is the brightest it's going to be, and then it's going to start waning. Now, Libra is that first opposite sign from the first sign. So it's the first opposite sign. It's the first sign to oppose another sign. Because if we start at Aries, we get around, go all the way around, and then we get to Libra, and this is the first sign that is opposite of a sign that we've already been through, okay? And because of that, because of also Libra falls in the fall equinox, starts us in the fall equinox, which is equal day and night, which is where Libra gets a lot of its balancing, but also it is a Venus-ruled sign. It is a masculine sign ruled by Venus, duality number 2 with Libra, but also when the sun comes here, it is in fall, because the sun then goes through a judgment process where it's not only about the sun anymore. The sun starts seeing its other side. It starts seeing its shadow side. So Libra, a lot of people think like Libra is scared of opposition, but it's not. Saturn is actually exalted in Libra. And I know I'm getting a little like, you know, advanced astrologically here, but like Saturn is actually exalted in the sign of Libra. Libra is not scared of opposition. Libra is the sign of opposition. But it's like, okay, if we're going to do this, like if we're going to face off, we're going to do it classy and we're going to do it with grace. Okay. We're going to do it based on truth. We're going to do it based on like actually standing for something and in a classy way. So Libra is a cardinal sign, therefore one of the signs of the zodiac that is a initiator, a leader, a decision maker, but it makes decisions in a different type of way than, let's say, Aries makes decisions and Mars makes decisions. Mars is like, this is what I want, go on and get it. You know, I don't like you, I'm gonna punch you, you know, like Libra is like, okay, let's be smart about this. Let's add some brains to it. It's an air sign. Let's be a little bit more strategic about this. Let's contemplate this. Let's look at it from many different angles and many different sides, because there's so much that we can't always see and that we can take personally and therefore miss the mark or miss the actual truth or miss the actual meaning of it all. And so that is what Libra is about as a sign. It is the sign of opposition. It's just a Venus ruled sign. So it's like, we're going to do it, like we're going to dance off in a classy way. And it's, you know, it's Saturn's exalted sign. Saturn rules over opposition. So this is literally the sign of opposition. So it's not like, yeah, in the shadow side of Libra, it can be scared of confrontation and avoid authenticity to basically, or sacrifice, you know, authenticity to keep the peace, right? Because at the end of the day, Libra does want peace. It's like, why am I going to, again, it's adding brains to the conflict. Why am I going to, like, you know, fight over this when there's a strategy where we can all win? Or there's a smarter way of going about this, you know, that is actually more balanced for everybody. And that actually makes the problem not even exist anymore. And so I kept seeing and hearing, like when I was like taking my notes for all this whole week, the limit does not exist, like from Mean Girls. That is this transit in a nutshell with Mars, like what Mars is about to do and go through. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But basically, Mars in Libra is opposition. A lot of the times that stands out. Like when we look at Mars in Libra people, like I'm pretty sure like Eminem has like Mars in Libra, Abraham Lincoln, I think like Jeffree Star has Mars in Libra. There's a lot of people with Mars in Libra that are like, by just them being themselves, they're existing, they're embodying the opposition. Like they are literally are embodying two things at once. Okay. So like Eminem being like one of the first really, not like the actual first, but one of the first really big, like, you know, white rappers, you know, Abraham Lincoln, obviously, you know, like, and everything he's known for, freeing the slaves and like the Republican Party and like all of that. You know, Jeffree Star, you know, like, and his whole personality is an embodiment of kind of like two sides at once, right? Like, so this is like this, that's kind of how I see Mars in Libra a lot of the time, is like it doesn't mean that it's scared of conflict. That's not necessarily how Mars in Libra plays out, although a lot of people think that, because that would be the very basic, easy way to put it. But like, it's not necessarily that. It's like Mars still is going to be Mars, and it's going to be like instigating, and it's going to be edgy, and it's going to be all about the individual. And so, and like, you know, the relationship with the self is really what this is about, I think, on many levels, with Mars in Libra, because Mars still rules over Saturn and Neptune and Aries. And so anyways, but Mars in Libra, it's been very hard for me to kind of nail down all of the different things of this transit. And that's why I've been contemplating it, because Libra can play out in so many different ways, because it's really about showing us our blind spots. It's about showing the sun its blind spot. And that's why the sun starts losing half of its light, because it's like, oh, wait, I have a shadow side. Oh, wait, there's other people to think about. Oh, wait, it's not just all about me, or it's not just about, it's not, there's another way of looking at this than how I've been looking at it. And so, you know, Mars in Libra can definitely instigate opposition or confrontation to balance things out. It's like, okay, this side's not being represented, so I'm going to represent it. That way the scales then become balanced. Even if that means I'm going to get hate, feedback, or, you know, whatever, right? I don't care. It's like, this side needs to be represented, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to represent it. You know, because I've noticed this about myself, like, I'm not scared to duel with people, but I don't like messy conflict. I don't like messy, because I'm a Libra sun, I don't like messy, you know, emotional, angry conflict, because then to me it's like, I'm not going to, that's not how I respond, right? It's like, okay, you can throw a temper tantrum, like, I'm no longer having this discussion with you. But I do like, you know, debating, you know, like, I do like debating, and I will stand up for sides or play the devil's advocate for sides that, even if I'm not attached to them, even if I don't share their ideas, I will do that just to balance out the equation, just to give that side representation and show that, like, hey, yeah, I understand that you think that way and that you have that belief, but, like, you know, there's also this way of looking at it. And so Anyways, sometimes Mars and Libra can really take two extremes and kind of bring them together or balance out one extreme with the other. So it really represents, you know, a balance of two extremes or two different ends of the spectrum. And that can cause controversy at times. So the truth may be confrontational or may start a conflict with this transit. It's like we may come to some kind of decision or truth, or we may see where we have been making decisions that have not been in alignment with us, or that have not been based in our truth, or that have not really been the wisest or most classy thing that we could do. And so we may change things up. But the thing that I always say with the sign of Libra, because one of the biggest lessons I think with Libra as a sign is when you avoid conflict externally, you create it internally. Okay, this is really, really huge for Libra people and Libra transits, because it's really easy to sacrifice our own truth or sacrifice our own self or how we feel about something or our own identity as Libra, because the sun, the identity, is in fall in Libra, and therefore some of the self gets kind of sacrificed because we're so aware of the other and we're so aware of the shadow side of ourself that we're trying to balance both. And so it's like, well, yeah, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not seeing it this way. And, you know, like all of that. And so a lot of the times we can like, okay, like I'll compromise, you know, how I think about this so we can figure out, you know, what you think about this and go your way and go down your path, right? And so anyway, but then we end up lost and we're like, damn it, like who am I even more? And so like we have to like kind of be aware of this with Libra transits. Now, the other thing about this is it can bring up, obviously Libra does deal with relationships and the dance with self, the dance of self and other, which is a dance. It can be a game, a dance, however you want to look at it. Sometimes it turns into a duel, but really on a higher level, it's all harmony. It's all harmonized. It's all a dance. And so when we really kind of take that higher view of it, it's like, okay, this can be about relationships as well. And not just romantic ones, although it can be about romantic ones, but ones with family, especially as Venus here is ruling this Mars and Libra transit, since Venus rules, you know, Libra, and Venus is here in Cancer. Okay. And so our relationships and attachments with other people and with family and with, you know, people that we've had bonds with, people from the past. It could even be co-workers, friends, you know, and then also even authority figures, the Saturn Neptune in conjunction, which Mars will oppose, which is the whole next part of this. But before we get to that, what we're going to see a lot of, because this is a very social transit, Mars and Libra, it's not just Mars and Libra, it's going to be making a grand air trine to Uranus and Gemini and Pluto and Aquarius, which we're also going to talk about. But this is like, you know, teams, collaborations, friends, belonging, sides, comparisons, breakups, and big decisions that somehow other people are tying into in your life. And so this is kind of the name of the game with just Mars and Libra. Now let's tie in this whole other crazy part of this that we have going on, which is the Neptune-Saturn conjunction. Because as soon as Mars moves into Libra, it's going to oppose, that was a horrible line, it's going to oppose this conjunction in Aries. This is what I've been pondering the most about this transit, because it's like, number one, Mars rules Aries. So Mars rules Neptune and Saturn, but it's also opposing it. It's almost like going across the street to your neighbor's house and then starting shit with your guest in your house, like you and your neighbor starting shit with your guest in your house. You know, like it's almost like doing it on purpose for some reason. Like that is kind of like how I see this. It's like, it's so interesting. So anyways, it's almost like getting worked up by social conflicts to find out that like they were all a lie. Like I see this as like controlled opposition, maybe even like on a grander scale, like in the world, conflict of interest. Like I see this as almost like you are facing off against something that is your own doing. Because again, Mars rules Aries. So like Neptune and Saturn are in Mars's home sign. So Mars is the one that rules them. Whatever Mars does is, you know, basically influences them. So with Mars going into Libra, opposing its own sign with its own planets that it rules there, it's the one stirring up this opposition, because it feels like we need to see something from a different side first to truly understand it and to truly move forward into what's next. And so the way that I kind of see this is like Mars is basically uniting in this like grand air trine with Uranus and Pluto to oppose Saturn and Neptune. Or against the bad guy. We'll call Saturn and Neptune the bad guy, but Mars is the one that is actually having power over the bad guy in a lot of ways. So like another example of this, let me know if you're following down below. Let me know if this is making sense, because I feel like I'm a bit all over the place, even though I'm trying to keep this as like organized as possible. But like, so an example of this, right? So like, let's say that there's this like, you know, group of people, right? And then there is this opposing party to the group of people. And the opposing party is led by a certain leader. Well, that party is now opposing this first group of people. And then this transit comes around, and come to find out eventually that the leader of the opposing party actually created the first group of people and is still like running their choices, right? Like another great example of this, because I know everyone's talking about the Lionsgate portal right now. The Lionsgate portal is not astrologically accurate, okay? It's not. Like, there's nothing going on 8-8 that is anything near what they talk about the Lionsgate portal. Sirius is not aligned with the sun on 8-8. Sirius was aligned with the sun back when the sun was in Cancer, back in Cancer season, in July. Like, this is not, it's been wrong for a long time now, yet every single year people celebrate it. And I have even witnessed the magic, though, spiritually, of the 8-8 portal. And that really got me finally thinking, because I used to like tell everybody like, you know, that, hey, 8-8 astrologically is not accurate. This is like people that don't know what they're talking about, that are just like celebrating it, you know, like it very like air sign, like, oh yeah, woo, cool, trendy idea, let's do it, you know, and then come to find out it's not even factual, right? And so, but the thing is like one year I like actually kind of witnessed it energetically feeling really magical that day. And I was like, wow, like maybe like this is crazy. And what I realized was that it's people's belief. And that's what this is. Neptune and Saturn and Aries. It's all about belief. It's the people's belief in it that makes the Lionsgate portal, that makes 8-8 mean something. Even though it's not even astrologically accurate and hasn't been for a long time. Like, it's the people's belief in it. It's like money, right? Like if today they came out and said, okay, like cash does not mean anything anymore. If you got it, too bad, there's nothing you can do with it. It's meaningless. We'd all stop believing in it, and that pile of cash that we had in our closets or under our beds or in our wallets or like whatever would no longer mean anything. And it means something because we say it does. We believe in it, right? And this is the whole point I'm trying to kind of make here. It's like we are facing off against our own fears, our own beliefs, our own matrices with this whole opposition to Saturn and Neptune and Aries. And like Mars is facing off against its own shit, you know, basically. Like it's facing off against the thing that it has control over, to basically realize or to get the opinions or to see the other perspective of what it's not seeing. And so it's like us facing off against our own fears, you know, our own beliefs, that our own stories that we've been telling ourselves, our own illusions that we've been living under. And that can show up though in a lot of different ways in your life. It may not look like it at first. You may be going through a stubborn, persistent conflict lately that is not going away. But through this conflict, this uncomfortable situation, challenge, conflict shows up because it is the catalyst to showing you that this is all an illusion that you're creating. This is all part of this game that you're creating, basically. So like Mars in Libra in a lot of ways is like, you know, it wants to know what it's fighting for. It's like, what am I really fighting for in my relationships, you know, in my life, with myself, like in my workplace, in my purpose, like whatever the case may be. But like opposing Saturn and Neptune and Aries, it's like, do my current commitments reflect the version of me I'm becoming, or the one that I'm trying to prove myself to, right? Like, am I trying to prove myself worthy of a vision, for instance, Neptune and Saturn and Aries, or does my vision reflect who I'm becoming, right? Like this is also a really, really great part of this. Now, on top of that, it's like Saturn and Neptune and Aries are like, here's your edge. Like this is your edge. Here's your fear of taking up space. Here's your karma or your, whatever around impulsivity, anger, abandonment wounds, putting yourself first, going after the things that you want to go after. And here's your excuses and your reasons and your illusions around why you can't. Okay. And, and Neptune and Aries is like, but your will is divine. Stop assuming that, your fire is dangerous or your conviction is dangerous. Stop assuming that you're not bold enough or brave enough or that you don't have what it takes, because really at the end of the day, if you desire it, it is divine. Your desire is divine. Your imagination is a weapon for creation. Okay. Not self-sabotage. And so Mars and Libra is facing all of this to kind of learn these lessons. And so this is necessary. Mars being the ruler of both Saturn and Neptune, where they're at right now in Aries, is being forced to look at itself through the mirror of duality, through relationships, through contrast, diplomacy, Libra, and is kind of being confronted with a lot of different things, a lot of different questions. And, a lot of these questions I'm going to bring up because I wrote down a lot of questions for this. Feel free to really ponder them, think about them, journal about them. But, Mars and Libra is it wants to make the right decision. It wants to make the decision that not only aligns with its truth, but that also is best for everybody. And I think that a lot of the times when making, because this transit's going to bring up making big decisions, okay? It just is Libra is all about decisions, and judging different things and looking at all sides of it. How's it going to play out? How's this person going to feel? But I think a lot of the times it's well, what's your truth? What's your truth? Because the frequency of truth is so high. And a lot of the times when we repress our truth and we make decisions out of trying to keep the peace or conforming or not wanting to rock the boat or not wanting to upset other people, we are robbing them of their own truth, because then we are giving them an illusion by pretty much us putting on a show and not being real about our truth. So now they are living under the illusion that oh, you're on board with this even though you're not. You're just not saying anything because you don't want to rock the boat. So your truth, most of the time, actually all of the time, is usually what's best for everybody. Now, I know I'm going to say that. I'm already thinking of certain circumstances where the truth may not, I don't know. At some point, right? At some point, especially the example I brought up is if you're dealing with children, let's say, and, one day they deserve the truth. But, when they're little, sometimes there are certain circumstances and situations, I'm sure that, whatever. Anyway, but that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about. I'm talking about in situations where you have compromised your truth and put off your truth. And that is, to spare other people's potential upset or feelings or disappointment or whatever. It's you can only do that for so long. Right? You can only do that for so long. So anyways, Mars in Libra is we need to start making the decisions that line with our truth. Okay. And, within that though, it's, and within this opposition, I wanted to say this in my monthly horoscopes video, but oppositions are mirrors. Right? So let's talk about an opposition really quick. An opposition, the aspect of an opposition is ruled by Saturn, and it shows us two sides of something. Often they can feel like a push and pull, we feel pulled between two things most of the time. What other people demand or want of us versus what we want, for instance, is a really good one with this. Our own dreams and sovereignty and independence versus, needing to keep up with other people's desires and what they want and fill in some void for them, right? And so oppositions are often mirrors though. So whatever this does bring up in your life, which will likely either build on something that's already been happening recently with Mars at the end of Virgo that already is starting to oppose this, not from sign, but from degree. And then once it moves into Libra, it's a shift happens, right? Something just shifts and the energy shifts around it. How we're going about it shifts around it. How we're thinking about it shifts around it. But an opposition is two sides of a spectrum, kind of pulling you between those two sides of polarity till you integrate the lesson in between them, okay? There's a lesson in between both of these where you can make decisions for peace, right? And be independent and do the shit that you want to do. You can be in truth and have a good relationship with yourself and not sacrifice your relationship with self for the relationship with others. So there is a balance here. Now, the other part of this is that, and the kind of key to this is that there's this grand air trine happening. So not only do we have this opposition, but we have this blue triangle right here, which is the grand air trine of Mars, in a trine with both Pluto and Uranus. And this is huge. This is going to feel like, I don't know why I'm just getting the word mental masturbation. I don't know where that phrase just came from, but I really believe this because Mars trining Pluto, like Pluto in Aquarius is transforming shit. Okay, it's like, here's the raw, unfiltered truth. Let's burn down all of these societal roles and all of these like false selves, false ways that we belong to ashes. Uranus and Gemini is like disrupting shit. It's like we've got, like we've thought this through enough, basically. Like, let's flip the script. Let's rebel against our old outdated mental loop. So this trine starts creating clarity through contrast. And through this opposition, it's like massive clarity, massive downloads start happening. And both Mars and Pluto and both Mars and Uranus offer a path to bring this opposition into being. So watch this, right? We have Mars down here and it trines Uranus, and then Uranus sextiles Saturn and Neptune. So that's one way of getting there. And then we also have the trine to Pluto, and then Pluto sextiles Saturn and Neptune as well. So there is a path in between Mars, the opposition between Mars and Saturn and Neptune, there's a path around there. So there's a path that's making this work, and it's all like very activating and like this is definitely like an awakening kind of transit if I've ever seen one. Like this is like, Einstein level shit, basically, like with the mind. So anyways, but this grand trine, this grand air trine is creating clarity through contrast. So, both Mars, Pluto, and Uranus offer a path to bring this opposition together because of those trines and sextiles. And so I feel like this is really illuminating where you've been emotionally conditioned to kind of suppress your truth to belong. Okay? Especially because we're going to have this full moon in Aquarius this week too, which we'll get to in a minute. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But so this is like a lot about where we've been trying to be understood by everyone instead of releasing that and just being ourselves and trusting that like those who understand will understand us, which I'm kind of doing a lot of in this video right now because I feel like I'm saying a lot of things that may not make sense to a lot of people, but it's fine. Because I think that like, it's like we forgot that we are paradigm shifters. And this is one of those transits that really can shift our inside, which then creates a massive shift outside of us. And so it's almost like Mars and Libra opposing Saturn and Neptune and Aries is showing us, like I said earlier, that our limits do not exist. They've been imaginary, or, this, whatever we've been blaming, like, oh, I can't go after this because of that, or I can't do this because of that, or like, whatever authority figures, whatever job, whatever belief about ourselves and what we're capable of, whatever, circumstance, like, worldview, like whatever the freak it is, it's like, this has been something you created, right? Like this limit does not exist. And so it's like the illusion of like authority with like, Saturn and Neptune and Aries, which is a good one, like definitely could be authority for a lot of people. The idea that someone else's perception, like society's ideas of success holds more power than your own perception or your own instinct, right? So it's like, and I feel like this is what Saturn and Neptune is really teaching us. It's like, what other perceptions have you bought into? What other ways or methods or paths of doing things that you thought that you had to squeeze yourself into to fit, right? And so, and this is just so huge. Now, another on the shadow side of this, I could see kind of, well, I mean, maybe it could not be on the shadow side. I guess that's a matter of perspective, but it may not also be a good thing, but this definitely can create a lot of social justice energy in the world. This definitely can create some kind of big social movement, some kind of big, like, you know, I don't know, like freaking protest or riot or like something like that. But again, I'd be careful because, again, like I said earlier, this looks like some kind of controlled opposition in a weird way. It's like Mars could be pretending to fit in when really it's the reason that this is all happening, right? It's like I said, like the example I gave earlier of like two opposing sides, two opposing groups, and the opposing group, the leader of the opposing group is actually also the leader of the other group and nobody knows about it, right? Like, and so, and has the control to stop the other group at any point in time, but doesn't, right? It's like the man behind the curtain. It's just crazy. But in a more spiritual and empowering instance, you are the man behind the curtain. Like you're the one creating this. Like you are both God and human, right? Like, and so it's like, that's the more empowering version of this that really breaks you out of all of the like mind games and matrices and all of that. But anyway, there's a tension in decision making with Mars and Libra, you know, where maybe your will has been stifled or by this like need to be fair or liked or, you know, whatever, when what's actually needed is some kind of internal alignment with your truth and with the sides of yourself that you've been combating against or fighting against or not wanting to embrace or not wanting to accept. Like I keep saying, the most important relationship is the one with yourself first. So I think that this grand trine, though, really liberates us from old mental traps, old ways of thinking. This is like paradigm shifting changes in consciousness in a lot of ways for a lot of people, where your truth can finally kind of override your need to like prove or perform or fit in or etc. And, you know, Mars in Libra is, you know, basically saying like it wants to take aligned action, but it doesn't want to be unfair or impulsive or messy about it or too much or like overly combative about it, right? And then Saturn and Aries is like, you know, you can own your autonomy, just do it with maturity, right? And then Neptune and Aries is like, well, stop waiting on the world to change or external validation for you to change. Like your dream life can begin when you believe your desire is actually divine, is actually sacred. So I feel like this is kind of a moment where the desire to take action, Mars, kind of meets the illusions and the limitations that we've been carrying around about what's possible, Saturn, Neptune, right? And it may feel like you're kind of being pulled in two directions, like I said, but the truth really is that you're being shown where your power has been waiting for you to claim it just differently. And so I think like this grand air trine is like a lot of mental revolution, visionary movement, like truth-based action. You know, this is like an intellectual, visionary kind of portal where like new ideas, downloads, epiphanies, light bulb moments, solutions to problems that you thought you had, realizing problems that you thought you had were completely not problems at all and were futile. Like downloads of truth and flashes of insight can come in really, really fast around this time. And like Mars trining Pluto within itself is like massive determination, like seeing through the bullshit, like seeing very, very clearly, seeing the root of things. Mars trining Uranus is like, you know, downloads and flashes of insight, like I said, and kind of revolutionary paradigm shifting, like thoughts that are also very like original, yet still really unique at the same time, you know, like, and so, and what's crazy about this is all forming a kite, and a kite in astrology is just so interesting. And as you can see, like Mars is down here at like the apex of the kite, and it's pointing towards Saturn and Neptune as kind of like the tension point, but it's being supported by Uranus and Pluto on each side. And so I feel like the big breakthrough here of all is like Pluto and Uranus are kind of shifting things in our minds so we can finally see clearly. It's like the agents of change. Saturn and Neptune are like, you know, the dream and the discipline it takes kind of to bring whatever it is that we desire to life. Mars is like the decision, the decision point of like where it gets real, where we need to start making decisions from the truth. And this isn't about like picking one side or the other. It's about activating a new form of power, not through domination, like which would be normally like very shadow side Aries, or even performance, shadow side Libra, but through conscious choice that integrates truth, alignment, vision. This week isn't about choosing between your dreams and your responsibilities. It's about really recognizing that the version of you who can hold both already exists. Like you don't need to go, changing something necessarily. Like I think there's going to be a lot of internal shifts for people, and that's going to cause external shifts because of the decisions that they make from there or the actions that they take from there. I think you're just being invited to step into, this is almost like an invitation to awaken and stop being on the fence of your life. Stop being on the side of the road watching the race and freaking join, right? Stop being a bystander in your life, basically. And so I really feel like that's what this is about. It's like reminding us and waking us back up, saying like, you are the architect and the dreamer. You are both God and human. You are both the game designer and the game player, like the player in the game, right? It's almost like a slingshot arrow, right? Like this is literally like almost like an arrow where like the opposition creates the tension and the air trines kind of build the momentum, and the kite, Mars, is what launches us forward if you're brave enough to, make that move, right? So I feel like this week is kind of showing us like two timelines at once, basically. Like the one where we stay small, where we stay in old patterns that kind of like dim us down or make us feel like we're just like a fraction of who we are, or that we're confused or indecisive or whatever. Or like, the ones that make us feel like, we are being true to ourselves, or we're on like some kind of aligned path, that we're aligned with our truth. And that can happen as soon as we stop kind of pretending to be something that we're not, or as soon as we start prioritizing our truth to make decisions rather than our need to be liked or to fit in, right? And so I think that this isn't just about potential. It's kind of like a reminder that there are paths to joy. There are paths to what you want. There are paths to clarity and connection. And they may require a few brave moves that you can now do with Mars and Libra in like a classy and graceful way. Like, it's like there's an intelligence to this that's coming in that's like, oh, that's how you solve the problem, and that's actually what's going to be good for everybody. And that's why I'm kind of excited for this transit, even though yes, Mars is technically in its fall, like I'm excited for this. And then on top of it, we have and by the way, Mars moves into Libra on the 6th. It will begin to immediately make trines to Pluto and Uranus and oppose Saturn and Neptune. But all of that will happen exact from about the 8th to the 10th this week. And then right in the middle of that, on the 9th, we have the Aquarius full moon as well. And this is also insane, another air sign, Aquarian energy that really deals with like our relationship with other people and society and the world and groups and belonging and friends and where we fit in. And so I think that this Aquarius full moon is going to really stir up like maybe old memories of past communities where we've tried to fit in or survive, right? Like it may remind us of like when you tried to like earn love or earn acceptance or earn belonging. But this full moon is kind of like, okay, we don't need to fit back into old systems and old places. It's like asking us to create a new sense of belonging that allows us to be real and perfect and still completely worthy in like a lot of ways. And I think that this Aquarius full moon is kind of almost a beautiful reminder of like what once exiled you may now be the very key to like you belonging and feeling whole within yourself. And so really, I feel like this whole thing is like alignment and truth over everything, because again, Venus rules over Libra where Mars is, and Venus is coming into her conjunction with Jupiter right around this time. It goes early on next week, but we're still going to be feeling it this week. So it's like whatever actions and decisions Mars is making, it's coming from a really beautiful healing and integrative place, I think. Like with Venus in Cancer, it's like nurturing our soul, it's nurturing our hearts, it's coming from a heart and mind balance and not just this like angry combative place, right? Yes, some people may respond to this energy in that way, okay? Like some people may become very reactionary or combative or confrontational or like whatever. As long as you're identifying with your truth, it doesn't really matter if it causes conflict in others or not, because that's their emotions. Again, this is like, okay, like we can feel for people, but their emotions are not our responsibility. And we don't need to micromanage everybody else's perception of us. We don't need to micromanage everybody else's potential emotions or upsets because of our decisions. We need to focus on what is true for us and what decision we feel comfortable making. And a lot of times with Libra, there's a middle ground. So a lot of times you can do both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And this is why decisions take me so long, because I'll usually have two conflicting ways I want to go about something. And I've got to find the middle ground that kind of ties in and integrates both of them, rather than just one or the other. That way I can kind of listen to all sides of me instead of just listening to one side only. But I feel like with this Venus-Jupiter conjunction, it's like whatever Mars is doing in Libra is like Venus and Jupiter and Cancer are influencing. So it feels very like divine and through the heart and through a heart-centered place of really just getting to the truth. And that being what matters most. Like truth and alignment matter most. Like that's everything this week. If you take anything from this, like that is like that's the key to all of this right now, I think, is like truth and alignment. What is your truth? Like, is it, the truth is always aligned, basically. And so making decisions from that place. And then Saturn, rules this full moon that's happening in Aquarius, that's happening on the 9th, and Saturn's involved in this opposition with Mars. Mercury is about to go direct, almost opposing Pluto. So it's like we're making some massive changes, leaps and bounds forward in our thinking and our way of perceiving something and our way of going about something and the decisions that we're making, and just so many freaking things. It's like we're seeing the truth of something, and by seeing the truth of it, it's like the game is kind of falling apart. Like that's kind of how it feels now. It's like by seeing the truth of it, like it's like the game falls apart. And so the way I see this is like, Mars has Pluto and Uranus and its fellow air signs, like kind of ganging up with it. And it's like, and it's seeing kind of the truth of all these different things and where it's been, almost like where it's been the problem in its social life and with the social aspects of its life, so that it can see these changes and make more aligned decisions going forward, and it can see where it's been limiting itself, where it's been holding itself back. Now, on a more practical note, again, this can create a conflict of interest. This can create truths that come up that may be uncomfortable about people in our lives, relationships, situations in our lives, that we no longer are feeling aligned with, jobs, or the way that we've been going about something, or, decisions that we made before that we're no longer on board with now, commitments that we made before that we're no longer, on board with now. It's kind of like a mirror breaking moment, it's like facing so many different things. And so anyways, this can bring up controlled opposition. So be careful. I really could see like maybe like I'm hoping that it's going to be more about truth. But there is a shadow side to this where, it could be like something rallying a bunch of people up in the world and it ends up not being what it appeared to be. Or something is exposed that is the illusion, and then that rallies different people up in the world in some way. But either way, I think that there's just so much happening here. It's like, are we ready to make different decisions in our lives? Are we ready to kind of be brave and face, the illusions that we've been kind of under? This is like waking up from like a spell almost. It's like, holy crap, I thought this whole thing was real. Therefore, I thought it was my reality. Therefore, I was acting from that place and embodied in that energy and acting from that energy just to find out that it's not real. Or, holy crap, I've been repressing myself or silencing myself instead of standing up for something I really believe in. And now that I do, I end up getting all this support that I didn't even expect to get. And I didn't even do it for that reason. Like, this isn't about doing anything for validation. This is about doing things from a place of truth and alignment again. So some of the questions I would ask if I were you this week is like, what would you choose if you stopped negotiating your truth? What imaginary limits are you ready to release, or what like imaginary beliefs are you ready to believe, or are you ready to release? Like, what are the core beliefs and stories that are holding you back from what you truly desire to do in the world? And where are you ready to release those? Where can you start seeing through those and seeing, you know, the imaginary kind of story that you've been buying into? Where are you still waiting for permission to be free? Like, where do you think that you're not free because of something external to you, when really you are, right? And you're just like waiting on something external to change for you to change, right? So it's like, where are you still waiting for permission to be free? What part of you is ready to be seen that you've hidden out of fear of being misunderstood or judged? This is a really big one, especially with the Libra energy, especially with the Leo Aquarian energy. And are you making a decision from a performance place or from soul alignment, right? So are you making decisions from trying to kind of perform or be liked or conform or fit in or not rock the boat, not cause conflict? Or are you making decisions from a place of soul alignment? So with that being said, I would really love to hear how you guys are noticing this play out right now. Like, if you already are like, oh my God, I'm already seeing this, or I already have an idea of what this is going to be about, or please even come back later this week and let me know how this is playing out for you. Like, I really want to know. Like, I'm already seeing the Aquarian vibes in my dreams and different situations that are coming up in my life. It is insane. And so I'm already seeing some of the Saturn Neptune opposition with Mars as well, like showing me some like deep rooted beliefs and stories I've been kind of buying into that have shaped my life and my decisions for like, you know, the last like year or so now. So it's just been, it's been crazy. It's like, it's time to address the places where we have been flaky, indecisive, on the fence, like not wanting to make a decision, where we have, you know, been kind of telling ourselves these stories or believing in these illusions and not moving forward. Like, all of this is like about to get faced this week. And so it's going to get really powerful, really intense, really clear as well. And then by next week, it's going to be like, holy shit, like I'm, you know, like I see this opposition as instigating us and triggering us, be like bringing some kind of catalyst in our lives to remind us of what we're capable of, and to remind us that we can believe in ourselves again, and it's safe to believe in yourself again. And you don't need other people around you to mirror that back to you. You don't need the world to mirror it back to you. You don't need validation to do it. You don't need all these other things that you thought you needed. Like, you only need your freaking self and that belief within, that conviction within, that fire within. So it's like, you don't need this other part of you to get on board, or to get rid of this part of you to be able to do so. Like, it's really about, again, bringing those parts of you together, integrating opposites. If you can hold duality this week, and you can hold these different sides of the spectrum, and instead of clinging to one side out of comfort or fear, or choosing a side out of comfort or fear, or whatever, if you can sit in the middle and contemplate both and see what both are telling you, like, that is where you're going to do some really deep work this week, some deep introspection work and some deep healing this week, because this week is a massive opportunity to sling forward in our lives, like quantum leap kind of energy. Okay, so yeah, just keep that in mind. Let me know if you made it all the way here down below. You are a mother effing real one. Thank you so much. Let me know what you thought about this. Comment down below. Sexy badass alien. Changing it up this time. I'd love to know your thoughts, and let me know what related to you about this, or why you like these videos, whatever you want to put. I don't care. I love reading your comments. It means a lot to me. Thank you guys for being here and for supporting my work. I really truly appreciate you guys. Astrology has always been like my nest, like my foundation, and through my spiritual journey, and this channel's been pretty much a part of that as well. So no matter where I wander, I always still end up here. So I love you guys. Thank you guys so much. It's going to be a crazy week. I will see you for the Aquarius full moon video, and hopefully we have more information by then on how this is all cooking up. So alrighty,